Well, top of the morning to you, everybody. How are you? Jimmy Lakey here, live from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I look straight out that window there, and there is the Texas Globe Life Field, home of the former world champion Texas Rangers. Right over behind the other hotel, I can't see it, is the Dallas Cowboys Jerry World. Dallas Cowboys champions of nothing since 1993 or so. It's been a while. But here I am, here in the Dallas area, and I appreciate all of you being a part of the program this morning. And yes, that is a nice artwork. Yeah, I changed the artwork. I changed rooms. And so here we are. Good to have all of you here. It is a glorious day. The Lord has made the 18th day of March, year of our Lord 2025. And wherever you're joining us from, pleased and privileged to have you. A lot of you on the Red Wave America, Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, Facebook.com/Red Wave America, Facebook.com/The Media Equalizer. And then you get over on the Twitter. Some of you are starting to join us over there on the X machine. That's under my name, Jimmy Lakey, JIMMYLAKEY. If you're on the Rumble, good morning to the Rumble. And let's make sure right now, let's go live on the Instagram. Boom, just went live right there on the Instagram. So if you're on the IG, good morning to all of you and all the platforms that we're on this morning. Glad to have you here. Coming up, Dr. Carol Lieberman is going to be with us this morning, American psychiatrist. Laura Carno is going to join us this morning, as she usually does on Carno Tuesday. It's always a privilege to have Laura on the program. Arloa says, still in Texas. Good. I think I'm here through the end of the week. And there's just joys in having an aging parent. Let's just say that. There's joys in that. And so I'm here handling some things like that. But here we are. I'm still in the Dallas area. And I will probably see in my future several trips back over the next several weeks. So you'll probably see backgrounds like this for the next little bit. But that's just part of, as I get older, other people get older, and you just take care of stuff. All right, let's dive into a couple of things here in the news. The JFK files are finally supposed to drop today. Tens of thousands of pages that have been held back, and President Trump says he's asked for nothing to be redacted, so hopefully nothing will be redacted. Is this one of those things that the boy who's cried wolf, we've heard many, many times, that we're finally going to get to the bottom of it, and we never do? So is anticipation high or is anticipation low that the JFK files are finally, after 60 years, going to be released to the public today? And we're going to finally find out what supposedly happened on that fateful day, just 12 miles down the road that way in Dallas, Texas. So, I didn't realize growing up in the area, I took my driving test, drove down Interstate 30 into downtown Dallas, drove the Kennedy route. Never realized, that's the building, that's the school book depository. Didn't realize, because you grew up in it, you're sitting in a hotbed of history and controversy, and it was nothing. Used to be, and I don't even know if it's still there, I've been out of Dallas so long, a place called the West End Marketplace, which is right kind of behind the school book depository, which is kind of nightlife and restaurants. And back in the 80s and 90s, when I was around, being able to attend to such places. And I don't even know if it's still a marketplace, but it was kind of a fun mall type area. I'm sure it's probably ridden by gangs and Trendy Aragua by this point, but back in those days, it was just a fun hangout. Even when in late high school, senior in high school, or even in early college, that's where you just kind of hung out at. So anyway, anybody have any high expectations about the Kennedy file drop today? Anybody have any guess as to what we'll find out? I think what you're going to find out is not the names of individuals. I think if they tell us the truth, I think what we'll find out is the complicity of organizations. And I think what's been covered up all this time and what's been redacted is not the names of individuals. Perhaps I could be wrong, but the names of organizations. And there's still people 50, 60 years later say, don't taint my organization. Don't put a begrudging mark on my organization, the CIA, the FBI, or whoever. In other words, I think you're going to find some intergovernmental conspiracy or complicity in the assassination. And the question will we learn how high up that conspiracy went? Your theories are welcome in the chat room on all of our platforms today. Jim says, good morning from Fort Collins. Good morning, Fort Collins, Colorado. Arloa is glad that I'm still in Texas, because I believe Arloa, if I recall, is out in the Tyler and Longview area. So good morning to all of you, wherever you're listening at. And always, if you're not in Colorado, not in Texas, love to hear from where you're at and where you're watching the program at today. Of course, many of you watch live, but really you watch the number of the show, And a lot of our strongest numbers are not in the live segment. It's who watches it throughout the course of the day. So wherever you're watching it, feel free to comment on the platform you're watching on and say, hey, listening in the afternoon, and I'm listening from Florida. We'd love to hear from you there as well. Yes, it is Longmont. When you do share and like the show, use the hashtag Lakey Unleashed. Producer Chad really likes it when you do that. The Lakey Unleashed, and see right there, Lakey Unleashed. You should use that. I use it to the best of my ability as well. All right, what else do we have in the news today before we're joined by America's psychiatrist? Isn't it amazing? Chuck Schumer makes probably the best move he could have made for his party by not letting the government shut down and backing this Trump's CR. Really, it's not his Trump CR, it's the Biden CR. And he's still under fire today. They are still going after Chuck Schumer, talking about a primary race, his own party. His own party has a disapproval rating that is amazingly low. His own party, the Democrats, of the party of Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are very held in much disregard in America. And Chuck Schumer says, well, it's not working very well for us to hold up signs at the State of the Union address. It's not working very well for us to continue to act like asswipes. And so let's do something different. Let's find a different day, and let's do this continuing resolution. After all, this is not the Trump budget. This is a clean CR. This is basically saying the budget that we passed under Joe Biden is the budget we'll continue with until the new budget year. And Chuck Schumer facing heat because he actually did something that was against the norm of his party, and yet his own party can't figure out that the norm of his party is not working very well for them. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Democrats are so, I guess, in such a blind rage and such Trump hate that they just can't see that, got to compliment him. Chuck Schumer actually probably did the best thing. Again, I like the CR going forward. I was okay with that. But I'm just talking about from a positioning and a branding standpoint, Chuck Schumer did something that I think America and maybe his constituents probably appreciate and see, that sometimes there has to be a little pragmatic negotiation, especially since you're in the minority, and yet he is taking crazy heat. I was watching some interviews last evening of what they're saying about Chuck Schumer, and they're saying some very nasty things. Matter of fact, one of his fellow congressmen from D.C., of course, Chuck Schumer's on the Senate side, but one of his congressmen said his office is in total defense mode. They're cowered down, they're hiding, and they really made it sound, and again, I don't know if this is true, that Chuck Schumer is out there on the defensive right now. If I were Chuck, listen to me. If I were your advisor, your political consultant, I would say now is not the time to look as if you're weak. You made a strong move, and you need to continue to assert yourself as a strong man. So my advice to Chucky Schumer, get out there, take the lead, do some press appearances, defend yourself, give the statement about why this was right. Even if you need to, this is your chance to call for a course correction of the Democrat Party, your fellow brother and sister that have gone back crap crazy. So if I was going to be advising Chuck Schumer, which to my knowledge, he's not paying me, I'm giving free advice right now. If you're going to play the guy that's swinging a big authority, and you're going to play the guy that's swinging the big bat, then get out there and swing the big bat and continue to take that list continue to take that leadership role. That's what I'm telling you to do. Take that leadership role, and this is your chance. Matter of fact, I look straight over my screen at monitor number 1, and it says Democrat infighting deepens. It says Chuck Schumer. Chuck, this is your chance to get out there and continue to be the leader. Again, you did the right thing, and forget the continuing resolution. If I was advising you on how to rescue your party and to get off the suicide death spin, then I would advise you to get out there and to stop doing the nonsense you're doing. And what you've chosen to do is stop that. So, Chuck, get out there. You're going to if you want to take a swing for the fences and be a leader, now is not the time to have reports that you're cowering in your office and your office staff is on defense mode. You don't want that going on right now. So, Chucky, get out there and stand tall. Chuck, Joe, Chuck. I like to say Chuck. It's kind of fun. Brad says, listening from Winter Haven, Florida, is America really ready for this JFK drop? After 60-something years, I think we are ready for it. What's the most shocking you could find in this JFK drop, if we get the truth? Is that you find out somebody's named as complicit in a conspiracy? I think we could probably, to me, it's a given that there's some alphabet soup agencies that were involved. CIA has always been mentioned. Um, what's the most shocking thing that could be in there? Honestly, tell me that LBJ himself was hired the hitman. I don't know. What is the most of all the conspiracies that are out there? What's the most wild thing that can actually be in these JFK files that dropped today? I think we are ready. It's a great question. Now, if you find out that, let's say, just as a form of example, you find out that some government official was complicit and they're the ones that hired and equipped Oswald or whatever, and they're the ones who did the deed, and they hired the hitman with the grassy knoll. They did all of it, and they never got charged, and the government knew about it. Then we might be a little bit shocked to say, well, what else have government officials done that we didn't know about? And yet the government knew about it, but they didn't file charges for whatever reason. So anyway, just a quick question for you. What is the most shocking thing that you think may be in the JFK drop? I think it's a fair question. Are we ready for it? Jeff says JFK still alive in the CIA double shot. I think it may find more than one shooter. I think that's fair. How old would JFK be if he were still alive? Like 187. I mean, if he were still alive, even Elvis would be, in his, Elvis would be old. All these rumors that these guys are still alive. I'm not sure I believe that, but it would be interesting to see what the most shocking thing that you can have there. All right, Arkansas is checking in, Florida's checking in, Texas is checking in, Colorado has checked in. Where are you listening to? We'd love to hear from you this morning. It's Lakey on the program called the Lakey Unlimited this morning. Interesting story out of Colorado where I broadcast from normally. One of the things that the green new energy deal people have always been afraid to talk about is nuclear energy, that if you ever want to get clean energy, chopping up birds with these windmills is not going to do it. Listen, I think I saw a preview. I don't watch Landman, but I saw a preview of it and kind of the trailer of it, that if Exxon or the big oil and gas companies thought that these big windmills and fields were going to be the future of energy, they would be putting them up everywhere. But the only reason these windmills are going up is usually through government subsidy, which tells me that people who know energy, not government bureaucrats, not people like Elon Omar and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, people who know energy know that the future is not in the windmills, and therefore they're not putting them up and investing big time dollars in them. Exxon still says we got to drill, baby, drill until there's a better form of energy out there. Well, what's interesting is a lot of folks have poo-pooed the world of nuclear industry. Of energy. And a lot of folks say, well, Europe gets by with it, and Americans, the environmentalists say, oh, it'll destroy the environment, it'll be like a nuclear bomb. But it's a very clean form of energy. Well, in the bat-crap crazy state of Colorado, this is interesting for all of you listening in the state of Colorado this morning, there has been a bill that has passed the legislature. Oh, hello, Beverly from Littleton, Colorado. Good to have you here. Murray brings up a good point. I just saw this. I'm going to come back to nuclear energy. They are still using your voice to announce KCOL iHeart. Murray from Colorado. KCOL used to be the station I was on before they went back crap crazy and started being run by idiots. And they have just they've said the hell in a handbasket to all local talk radio. There's no talk. I was the last local guy. Even the traffic's not local. Don't let them fool you. The traffic is not local. The news is not local. It's recorded out of state or out of town. And they're just reading and going, oh, well, let's read a show about Colorado Springs. So it's all a farce. It's all smoke and mirrors. It was for years. And I was the only real local guy there. I was listening just the other day before I flew out of town. And it's still, this is how much no one cares about the station. No one cares. They're still, 6 months later, running things and say, hey, it's Jay Lakey. Tune in tomorrow morning bright and early and I'll give you news. They still have that stuff on the station. It's still my voice everywhere. They had branded the whole station around me, yours truly, and what's there not to love here? They branded the whole station, and yet they're still using the branding images because no one gives a rat's ass. Truth be known, there are like 9 or 10 stations down a hallway, all supposedly local. They're all licensed by the FCC to serve the local community, and there's not a local there doing any programming. If you ever want to take radio back, people need to start contesting these big stations and conglomerates that have 45 stations in a market and they have no local presence. So their license says you're going to serve the community, and there's no one there right now that probably even knows how to turn a microphone on any of those stations. It's all a farce. The FCC licenses they give these people, really, they've disgraced themselves by their behavior. So that's my opinion, protected by the Constitution. All right, back to the. I get distracted. Squirrels over here in the chat room. Don't distract me. Okay, now you're all going to try to distract me. All right, nuclear. The Colorado State Senate on Friday approved a bill easily. This is what's interesting. It went through with flying colors that would add to the state's definition of an acceptable clean energy source as nuclear power. In Colorado, it's called House Bill 23-1040. It now goes to Governor Jared Feckless Foolish Polis's desk, and he's going to indicate he's going to sign off on the effort previously reported by a website called Complete Colorado. The state seal of approval is important to for all of those people to have this signed off as a clean energy source and clean energy project of financing at the county and Clark City level. So it's a good news. It's good news that finally the do we say libtards here? I don't know if we can. This Texas, we can probably say it. The liberals out there, whatever you want to call them, have stood in the way of nuclear energy, and the state of Colorado has finally said, hey, maybe nuclear energy would be a great idea. Hey, you idiots, if you would have to us many years ago, we would have told you that nuclear energy was a clean energy source. We would have told you that it has been used successfully around the globe, and we would have told you that it could be a potential source for all of us now if you're very worried about the oil and gas and the drill, baby, drill. It's just amazing how stubborn and idiotic and agenda-driven these liberals are, and they won't listen to logic, won't listen to reason, and now they say, well, you know, maybe by 2040 we could have some nuclear energy here in the state. Yeah, if you would have started 10 years ago, you could probably have it now. So there is that, but that is good news in the state of Colorado on the energy front. Again, I go back to this trailer that I saw on Landman. If anybody thought that windmills or solar panels were the future of oil and gas and replacing oil and gas, then you would see ExxonMobil and Chevron and all the other companies putting high dollars investment in there if they thought it was the future, but it's not necessarily the future. All right, let me show you some video. The deportation is out there of these crazy radicals that have been, these criminals, I should say. We got radicals in another video. The deportation is underway of people going to El Salvador. And you had some judge that came out and said, stop the deportations. You can't send them. And sorry, the planes have already taken off. And even the president of El Salvador says, oops, too late. We've already got them. El Salvador stepping up and saying, hey, you know what? We have caused problems for America. Our fellow friends here in Central and South America have allowed the worst of the worst to cross up through Mexico, the narco-terroristic state that's run by people that are complicit with narco-terrorism. The state of Mexico, in my opinion, the entire nation should be declared narco-terrorist state, at least finally declare the cartels as terrorist organizations, which is good. But El Salvador steps up and says, you know what? Why don't we help America out? We have been screwing Nicaragua, Venezuela, Mexico has been screwing America and doing nothing to stop the straight north flow of illegals. Some people are seeking a brighter tomorrow. Many people are just freed from prison, and these nations are emptying out the dregs of their society. And so the video came out over the weekend. You probably have seen it, but I want to see it and let you know that, you know, these guys are not getting, people say, well, those El Salvadorians treat these people roughly. I don't know. I'm looking at it through a different set of lenses. I want you to watch the video that has already been circulating online. And I want you to see these guys it's like a spa. These guys are getting stretches and like it's yoga. You know, people in America pay big money to go to what's it called, stretch zone, where they tie you down to a table and they stretch your muscles out. People are paying for this. Well, these guys are getting it as part of their spa treatment. So please, as these monsters, as the screen says, have been taken out of America and flown to El Salvador, I want you to just recognize, don't look at this as they're being treated roughly as prisoners. Look at this as a spa treatment. You're going to see beards being trimmed. You're going to see haircuts being given. You're going to see stretches. That lower back is going to be more flexible than ever before. And some of those guys are probably going to need that lower back to be flexible. I don't know. All right, let me play it again. Please don't look at this as prisoner abuse. Look at this as limbering up and a spa treatment. Here we go. Oh, it stopped for a second. Not sure why. The connection we have here. All right, well, let's pull it down. I don't know what happened. It could be a poor connection that we have here because I'm traveling and not necessarily in the best internet zone. Let me play one. I mentioned those are the monsters getting their spa treatment. Can I play this one? This may work better. This is, we talked about Columbia University and Harvard and Stanford and all these places that have been taken over by absolute radicals on campus. Well, I want you to see this, and this is how stupid. These are people that go to Ivy League schools, and yet they're not real smart. Play this one. Well, you can just see the screenshot. It's not playing. There's actually video to this. These are actual signs. Some of these protests that are happening, yeah, they're clueless. And you can see the guy at the bottom of the screen laughing and going, I can't believe you. Allah loves equality. That's how stupid these protesters are at these supposedly Ivy League schools. All right, obviously we're having trouble with the video here portion because I'm traveling and I'm not in my normal studio at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. I'm actually traveling and obviously in a hotel suite in the Dallas area. So sorry about that. We'll try to play these videos a little bit later and see if they'll work. I don't think they're working at all. Yeah, we get the death spin because it's a connection issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carol Lieberman, America's psychiatrist, joins me. Hopefully her connection is better than my connection. Dr. Lieberman, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you. I heard you were on the other day, the Joe Pags show. I don't know if you remember this. And I don't know if you knew it, but Joe Pags couldn't remember your name the whole night. We've got a lady named Carolyn Liebs, and he couldn't figure your name out the whole night. Introduction. Listen, I always say your name right. I'm not a loser like these other guys. I know who you are. He didn't have a clue.
Well, it was the first time I was on his show.
Well, I think it should be the last. It's like the guy is like, I don't know, mentally deficient. I love him. I've actually filled in for him before, so I can say this. He could have looked at notes and said, "Oh, Carol Lieberman," but no, he's like, "What's her name? Caroline? She's a psychiatrist. She's a Trump." I was shouting at the radio. I've actually filled in for Joe before many years ago in WOAI in San Antonio. And I have to say, I was shouting at the radio, saying, "Joe, it's Carol Lieberman." I was defending your honor, climbing the water tower of radio to do so. Dr. Lieberman, let's dive into a couple of topics here. I just showed a video image of these idiots protesting at places like Columbia University, holding up a sign that says, "Allah loves equality," with a gay pride flag. These people are not, they may go to Ivy League schools, but they're not the brightest bulbs in the box, are they?
Yes, I mean, I saw that. I saw your picture of that. It reminds me of when Netanyahu came and he said the gay people who it's like who are supporting Hamas. It's like chickens for KFC. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
and I love that because that really, I mean, in other words, it's so stupid. You're supporting somebody who would kill you.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Again, you have for years, you and I talked about it on the radio and on this, and you talked about it, the mental capability of Joe Biden. You thought that you actually filed a grievance and investigation to investigate for elder abuse right before he dropped out of the race. Said the government should be looking into this with Dr. Jill Biden. Now we learn, and I think there's going to be more and more we learn, that a lot of the executive orders and bills and pronouncements and proclamations he had signed were signed by AutoPen, which makes you wonder who was running the White House, and is Joe Biden so far gone that he was incapable of writing his own name?
Yes, well, I mean, or more nefarious than that, were people writing all these, signing all these things because they wanted it, because these were things that benefited them. I mean, I think particularly Obama, he may well have signed a lot of things. And yes, so President Trump was bringing this up in particular in regard to the select committee who was looking at the J6, the people on the committee who were looking at J6 and who were saying, who were putting all the people in jail and all of that. And he was saying that Biden's pardon should not be considered valid because it was done by an auto pen. An auto pen is a pen that automatically learns, like a robot, learns how to duplicate your signature. And, and so the question of that, of using an auto pen, a president using an auto pen, was brought up and investigated by Bush. And at that time, the Department of Justice decided that it was okay. But I mean, I think it's and apparently Trump has used it occasionally himself. But Trump knows what he's signing. It's very dangerous, really, because unless you have some proof that a president gave permission for the person to use the auto pen to sign. I mean, if there was proof of that, then I guess it would be okay, particularly if the president wasn't available or, if there was some emergency. But anyhow, my contention is, so there's all this argument now, there's always argument, everything that Trump wants to do since he's gotten into office, there's the left argues against. So of course they're arguing against this too. But my point about the whole thing is that it doesn't matter whether it matters in the sense that I was just saying that has to be proof that he actually authorized it. But regardless of all of that, I'm saying that even before the question is resolved as to whether or not he used an auto pen or who used the auto pen, he was not competent to make any decisions to sign anything, whether he did it himself or he told somebody to use the auto pen. Because as I was saying before he even got into office, when he was in his basement, I said he had encroaching dementia, and it encroached progressively as he was in office. And so really, he wasn't competent to sign anything himself or with an auto pen.
It's fascinating to watch how the stories are now being told. Everything that people like you have said, people like me said regarding his mental capacity. You even have Jake Tapper writing a book saying how the press was so naughty to cover up his mental failings. And yet Jake Tapper is one of the ones that shut people down on his own television show. They questioned his mental capacity. Everybody seems to be wanting to get on the right side of history, but it's people like yourself and myself that have already been on the right side of history. What is this mechanism that people like Tapper and the media are now pretending they do it all along, and these dastardly colleagues of theirs were covering it up? There's got to be some psychiatric disorder that they were going to believe that.
Well, they don't want to. It's so obvious now. They don't want to look like a fool to say that they didn't know it. I mean, yes, I'm sure there was cover up. And these people, it's so funny how we really haven't heard anything from Biden since he's been out of office. Where is he? I mean, last I heard, he was supposed to be retiring to a place in California. It's a place near Santa Barbara. And it's actually, it's Santa Ynez. And that's where I go all the time for horse competitions, horse riding competitions, eventing. And so I was really unhappy that the plan was for him to move there. In fact, there were, during the campaign, this recent campaign, there were cars, people for Trump went up to Santa Ynez, and I would happen to be there for this riding a horse in this competition. And they had 1 million cars, and they were honking their horns and everything, and they had signs for Trump, vote for Trump. And I couldn't understand at the time why this was happening. Like, I thought, what? There are people up here who are going to vote for Trump? And it was really people from all over. But they did it on purpose because they knew Biden was there that weekend. So anyhow, but we haven't seen much of him. Not that Not that I've missed him.
It's interesting. How bad do you think? And again, speculation. You haven't gotten to examine him or test him, but
Right.
we can go back to that special counsel Robert Hur that said Biden was, quote, I can't charge him. He was, quote, an elderly man with a poor memory. Now we find out that someone else was signing the papers or directing the auto pen. How bad do you think it might have gotten? It couldn't have been worse than we thought about his incapacitation and inability to perform the functions of the president. Do you think it's worse than you think?
Well, I mean, when he was running, it was encroaching dementia, meaning that it was gradually getting worse. And certainly the last year of his presidency, it was pretty much full blown. I mean, we saw there are so many, remember when the Easter Bunny had to take him out of the event because he was just making a total fool of himself. And see, that's the thing. This is what I'm suggesting. I think, and I would volunteer to do it myself. We need to look at this very seriously because there are things signed by auto pen or regular pen that he had no clue about. And because of his mental incapacity, and we need to go back and look at do an examination to see exactly when during his presidency he was incompetent enough that whatever he signed shouldn't be valid. I mean, besides the pardons, which he did towards the end, which means that it's very likely that he was not competent when he signed the pardons. But even before the pardons, I think we need to look at, and there's proof, you can look at video of his press conferences or any kind of videos of him. We can look at things that he wrote besides signing the orders. And we can look at people, do interviews of people. We can do the Robert Hur. I mean, apparently, I think in the interview that he did, there would be things to prove that at that time he wasn't competent. I mean, basically, that's what Robert Hur said. So there is a way, in other words, I do this all the time for case as an expert witness and forensic psychiatrist when there are cases. So like, for example, when children are disputing the will of somebody, like maybe Gene Hackman, this could be something that they could use with Gene Hackman to determine, because I know his children are going to be fighting over it. So you go back and you look at also their medical issues, and you put together a picture of at what point they became incompetent. And then anything after that they signed would be invalid. And I think Trump should do that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Last comment here, and let you have the final word, Dr. Carol Lieberman, my guest, America's psychiatrist. It's fascinating to me that this has never gone through the courts. The Justice Department had said back in the days of Bush, it's okay, but that's just the Justice Department ruling. It has not gone through the system of checks and balances. Congress has not authorized it. The courts have not sounded off. I wonder if this is something that needs to be adjudicated by the Supreme Court.
Yes, I think it is. And I think this would be a great time to do it. I was at the inauguration and I watched Trump sign the orders. And he certainly, there was no question of his competency at that time. I can tell you as a direct witness.
Yeah. He's going to have to, that pen robot's going to have to up its memory to mock his signature doing that, because that's quite a signature. They're going to do an upgrade. It's like an iPhone update.
Yes.
Dr. Lieberman, if someone wants to watch you, read you, follow you, where do they go?
Well, they can go to Twitter. I'm Dr. Carol, MD, DrCarole, MD. Or, one of my websites, my best website for this kind of material is at terroristtherapist.com. Terroristtherapist.com.
Well, please note, I am a talk show host that never mispronounces you. I know who to introduce. It's Dr. Carol Lieberman. Unlike that other guy that, just because he has a national show doesn't mean that he treated you with all due respect, Carol.
It was fine. To be honest, I didn't even notice it now before you mentioned it.
It was the lead up. You probably weren't listening. You just dialed in, and then Then he had it right. For an hour, he was pitching like, what's her name? Caroline. I'm like, what the? I was screaming at the radio and saying wordy dirts, bad words. I was saying bad words on your behalf. I was defending your honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Dr. Carol Lieberman, terroristtherapist.com, terroristtherapist.com. No, I'm sure he introduced her fine on the program. But the whole hour, he's like, coming up, we've got America. She's America's psychiatrist, right? She's a forensic. It's as if it's like he didn't know who scheduled him. You know, these high-powered guys have high-powered producers that schedule people for them. You know, Laura Carno used to be a high-powered producer for a high-powered guy. She did. His name is Jeff Crank. He's so high-powered, he's now in the halls of Congress. And Laura Carno has been relegated to this show every Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, nice to have you. I'm broadcasting here from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yes, this lovely artwork behind me is hotel artwork. I can see Texas Globe Life Stadium, home of the Texas Rangers. The roller coasters are going on at the Six Flags Over Texas amusement park right there. As a kid, I grew up. That was our. You do your chores early in the week, and then you had a season's pass to go to Six Flags. You just hung out all day, parents. We were free range children. Somebody's mom would drop you off at 10, 11, 12 o'clock in the morning, noon, and somebody else's parent would pick you up at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and you were on your own all day. No cell phones, no anything, no tracking devices. Just were at Six Flags Over Texas all day, and your parents weren't tracking you. That we were free-range children. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Carno joins us every Tuesday at this time, and a little bit late because Dr. Lieberman was running a little late. Laura Carno, good morning.
Good morning. I have been to that ballpark back in the day when I went to I think it was like an NRA annual meeting or something, and I went with a bunch of 2A journalists to the ball game. And fun fact, Charles C.W. Cook from National Review, he also writes for the NRA magazines. He's a huge roller coaster freak. And so everywhere he goes, he must go ride the roller coaster. So a bunch of us were meeting up for the ball game, and he had to come over from the roller coaster part because wherever he goes, he just loves them. So I thought that was kind of a fun thing.
It is fun. I can see out the window here. I drive around here. A roller coaster called the Shockwave. It's the first double loop around. It is double loop. And I mean, I was in 5th or 6th grade, maybe 7th grade when that thing started. And it is still anchored there on Interstate 30, giving kids and adults scream. There's a lot more roller coasters over there. I have not been in that park probably 20 or 30 years, but we were free range children. Can you imagine a parent dropping their kid at the front gate now and not checking in with them on a cell phone 45 times? We just got dropped off and picked up. That was it. One day, I remember we got stuck. One of the rides, we were stuck at the top. We were supposed to be at the curb by like 9:45, and we didn't get out there about 10:30. We're going to get in trouble. We had to convince the parent picking us up. We were stuck on the ride. It was stuck. And but they weren't panicked. They weren't calling the police. They knew we were roaming around, probably goofing off in the park, and they just waited for us. No cell phones, no anything.
Yeah, we grew up in Southern California, and so we had Disneyland, Magic Mountain, Knott's Berry Farm, all the different places. And you're right, back in the day, and I'm older than you. Back in the day, even if we went to a park with the parents, like Disneyland or what have you. We would split up all the time. Kids go one way, parents, I don't know, maybe they were stopping for a cocktail or something. But we, and this is back in the day that you had to have like an individual ticket for each ride you went on. There wasn't such a thing as like an all-day pass. But yeah, it was a whole different free range world.
Yeah, it's a whole different world out there. All right, Laura, let's dive into a couple of news stories. Our Colorado State Legislature, a lot of the people that watch this throughout the day, I was noticing our numbers. The numbers during the live show are nice, but by the time the day's up, people start watching this all day. They pick up throughout the day. People watch it in reruns. So the Colorado State Legislature is in session, and they passed a bill that Republicans have been talking about for years, in which they have declared that nuclear energy is a proper form of clean energy. And they have been fighting that for years, and Jared Polis is expected to sign it. Why do you think they had to change of heart that nuclear energy is good?
Yeah, I think it's just getting to the point where they have no choice, that all of the other so-called alternative types of energy are so expensive. And, electric cars apparently are bad now because of Elon, and they were good. Now they're bad. So I think they just had no choice. Independence Institute, especially Amy Cook, they have been working for years on this sort of thing. And they have had energy symposia where they have brought together people from the right, people from the left, all who want clean energy. And everybody agrees, and these are energy people from the left, not political people from the, everybody agrees. Nuclear is where it's at. It's inexpensive, it's clean. France has been on this bandwagon for decades. And I think the fact that potential presidential candidate Jared Polis wants to be president and said that he will sign this if it comes through, I think that had a lot to do with the appetite on the Democrat side.
It's fascinating, though, how lack of principle they are when it comes to this energy quandary we have. Nuclear is bad. Oh, suddenly it's now good. Electric cars are great. Oh, they're very bad. As a matter of fact, I've seen, I don't think anybody who's publicly gone on, from the astronaut senator in Arizona to other people that I've seen cashing in their Teslas as a protest to Elon. Nobody's cashing it in on another electric car. Everyone says, "Oh, now I'm going to drive a Chevy Tahoe. Oh, I'm going to this car." None of them are hybrids. They're all going back to gas guzzlers.
Right. And what's funny about Mark Kelly, the former astronaut senator from Arizona, he's bagging on Elon Musk and SpaceX. And you would think, as a former astronaut, he would be on the side of current astronauts who were left in space for 9 months. You would think that he would be on their side and say, hey, that's great that Elon Musk and his company have the wherewithal to go get these guys and bring them back. You would just think he would have astronaut loyalty, but he has Democrat loyalty now. He's a changed man.
It is amazing the derangement that these people are exhibiting. I thought it might get better. Like, okay, maybe we should get our hearts right. They are gone back. I mean, Chuck Schumer actually did something smart for them to say, hey, listen, the path we're on, holding up election panels and stuff, this is not a good look. We're going down to the polls. So let's kind of do something different. And he's being lambasted. He may be challenged by AOC. And again, I don't care. That's their own fight and let them duke it out. But he actually did something. As a matter of fact, I wish he would have shut down the government. We could have called it Schumer's shutdown. He actually did something smart for rebranding branded politicians before. That was a pretty good move on his part, and his own party can't handle it.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I like the alliteration of Schumer shutdown. That would have been wonderful. Well, then they could own it. But it's going to be interesting to see if does AOC actually primary Chuck Schumer, and is she prepared to go up against the machine that is these elite leaders, so to speak, in the halls of Congress. They have so much money and power behind them because, that's why they've been in power for so long, is there is a huge machine. AOC is not part of that machine yet, but she's doing her best to try and pull the Democrats as far left as she possibly can. And I'm here for it. I'm going to pop the popcorn.
I'm going to pop it as well. She can have AOC and have a bunch of screaming rabid college students out there yelling for her. I'm sure that would get all jazzed up for her. I've said this in the derangement syndrome. I said this yesterday. If Donald Trump would just declare himself to be a woman and the first woman president identify, they would immediately forego, like they did the Green New Deal and green energy, they would immediately forego their radical gender ideologies. No, you can't be a transgender. All he has to do is say, I am a woman for one day, and I'm the first woman president, and they would go crazy, and they would suddenly get back to science on genders.
Right, and it sounds like a Babylon Bee headline. But as we have seen with Babylon Bee over the years, that 5 or 6 months after they're published, all of a sudden it's news headlines, and Babylon Bee's folks say we gotta get a little better at our headlines. These things keep coming true. We're a satire site.
It's between that and this and the Simpsons. There's so much almost a prophetic edge to it. It is. All right, let's go back to the state of Colorado. You sent me a story. A Colorado state legislature. We can think about Doge in Washington, but there's a Colorado state legislator that seems to be getting rich through her nonprofit that's being funded by the taxpayers.
This is so fun. So I ran across this on Twitter. A friend sent it to me. I think a friend sent it to me from Twitter. And I saw that Complete Colorado actually picked this up. So if folks want to see this and they're not on Twitter or X as it's called today, go over to CompleteColorado.com. You can find that. But yeah, so and it was a guy, apparently a guy. I don't know. He's got a different name on X, so I don't know who it is. But he did a deep dive. He did what we expect investigative journalists to do. But Senator Lorena Garcia, let me pull this up to make sure I'm saying all the right stuff. Senator Lorena Garcia, she has a nonprofit called the Colorado Statewide Parent Coalition. And before she took office, it made $990. And that was before she took office. And that was in 2022. Then in 2023, she takes office. Then all of a sudden, this nonprofit makes $389,000. Then the next year, it takes in a whopping $1.2 million. Guess where the money's coming from, Jimmy? It's coming from the government. And so I read this and I was like, this is just like what Doge is finding on a national basis, but we've got this right here. So we've got a Colorado legislator who is being enriched on the backs of us, the taxpayers of Colorado, you and me and everybody listening, for her nonprofit. So a person could say, oh, here's a nonprofit. I mean, it's a nonprofit, right? Well, they can have an executive director that they pay six figures. I wonder who that executive director is. Is it one Senator Lorena Garcia? So this is slimy and gross. And I'm really appreciative that this ex guy dug into this. But I'd like to see the TV stations cover it. I'd like to see the Denver Post cover it. The last time those more establishment media outlets covered a Democrat doing bad things was Representative Elizabeth Epps when the Democrats wanted to get rid of Representative Epps because she was misbehaving and embarrassing the Democrats. But I don't think they want to get rid of Senator Garcia. But I thought this would be great for you and I to talk about, to get it a little bit more coverage so that people can take a look at this.
Yeah. I'm sitting here reading through the X feed or the Twitter feed of this. It's called Government Grifters on Twitter. It's at GOVT Grifters, and I'll retweet it here in a second. Laura probably has retweeted it as well. If you go to number 6 on his point, Lorena Garcia also sits on the board of another nonprofit called Elephant Circle. And since she got into state legislature, they have gone from a zero balance, now that she's on the board, to a balance of $65,000. I wonder if that's coincidence that the nonprofit she also sits on the board of directors for has also gone from 0 to 65 in just a couple of years.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were seeing in Doge. These NGOs, non-government organizations, these NGOs that started a year prior with $0, all of a sudden we're getting billion dollar contracts from USAID and organizations like that. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, this just looks like money laundering and getting government money to these things that, if we were to vote on money going to these specific projects, they would fail. American voters would not vote to pass these things. So they're putting them through these NGOs and hiding them, putting a little bubble wrap around them so we can't see them, and passing them along to these organizations. So I hope this gets more coverage, and it starts here with Lakey Unleashed.
Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Do you know the station they used to be on that used to join me every week? Still, they haven't even yanked the promos. It still says, tune in tomorrow morning with me, Jimmy Lakey. 6 months later, it's still running every day. Every day.
Kidding. Boy, they're on the ball.
They're on the ball. They have a lot of pride in that local station. I've always said, people say, what happened to local radio? And there's very few local radio stations that have any local presence. And that had like 10 stations, 12 stations down the hallway. There's not one local programmer, but they have a license from the FCC that says they're going to serve the local community. If a nuclear war broke out in that community, no one would even be able to crack a microphone there. So I think people ought to start questioning FCC license when you can't get rid of a promo of a guy that just shit canned a couple of months ago, I think.
Well, it also goes to why people are saying, Jimmy, where are you? They're hearing the promotions on the radio station and they're like, what? Where are you? I'm tuning in. They say you're going to be there.
Every day I'm promoting my show that's not there. It's bizarre. Anyway, I digress. There's some nice people that I met in that, but that's upper management problems, not mine. Sure. Real quick, let me dive into one more topic here with you. The New York Times has admitted that the lab leak theory is true, and it's true. But where was the New York Times 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, and in fact, the New York Times led the coverage, and other news outlets quoted the New York Times quote unquote research in their stories. They were sort of the kind of the mothership on that reporting. And at the time, they didn't just say that the lab leak theory was wrong, but they said that Republicans, conservatives, anybody who was saying that that's a possibility, they were calling us conspiracy theorists and racists and all kinds of science deniers. And when you look back and you say, gosh, there was a lab there that traded in the coronaviruses, and right up the street is where the first people got sick with the coronavirus. It is not a big stretch, Jimmy. This is not, you don't have to, this isn't the grassy knoll or anything. This is, it was the same neighborhood. So now they're saying, yeah, we were all misled. And not that they're using any of the words like I'm sorry or apologies or anything, but I don't accept their stinking apology, or that them trying to make it right. Because my sense, Jimmy, is they knew exactly what the rest of us believed at the time, that if it broke out in the same neighborhood where the viruses were being studied in that lab, chances are that's where it started. They probably had those same thoughts and did all sorts of mental gymnastics, triple backflips to make it sound like there's no way that could have happened, and anybody saying it was crazy. Now, on the other hand, this is great that they are finally doing it, because I think that increases the number of people who will not be misled again and will not believe the lies that come from these outlets that were pushed by the presidential administration of the time.
It's amazing. New York Times is suddenly they have revelation and real journalism that we were called conspiracy theorists over. It's kind of like Jake Tapper writing a book to talk about how the press was so bad, covering up the mental decline and cognitive decline of Joe Biden, when it was Jake Tapper himself that was shutting down people on his own show, saying, "You're not a psychiatrist, you're not a medical doctor," and now he's writing a book and saying, "Oh, well, I can't believe these people covered it up." It's really interesting. The New York Times, Jake Tapper, all trying to revise history, and we can't let them forget.
Exactly. Revisionist history is exactly the right way to say that. And it feels like the Jake Tapper thing feels like the same thing we're seeing out of Gavin Newsom. He's like, I never said that trans men or let me get it correct, that trans women should they get all in these mental gymnastics themselves. I never said that these men should compete against women in women's sports. All of a sudden he's saying he never said that. He did say that. He's going through this whole litany of, no, I don't believe that. I didn't say that about immigration. I didn't say that about this. You're like, we have the internet, which is forever. We have memories, we have ears, and we have eyes. And I'm old enough to remember when you said all of that stuff. So Jake Tapper and Gavin Newsom, who wants to run for president and is trying to tack toward being more centrist, Ain't gonna work, sir.
Ain't gonna work. And Jared, if you're listening, we're gonna be on you like flies on stink anyway, because you're not a libertarian like you pretend to be. And Jared, I hate to break the news to you, Marlin will be the biggest albatross around your neck. I'm sorry. It's he's once America meets Marlin, Jared, you might as well pack it up and go make greeting cards again, because that's it for you. Laura Carno. Go ahead. I'll let you interrupt.
I was just gonna say, yeah, and he's not gonna be able to hide from that in a Democrat primary, because once you're on that national stage, the knives will be out from those other Democrat candidates. The knives will be out for Jared Polis, and so they will help get that truth out there. I'm going to only say one last thing. Are you getting room service of like Eggs Benedict or something when the show's over?
Maybe.
I love Eggs Benedict.
I do too. Although it's almost 10 o'clock here. You know what? Rather than the Eggs Benedict, what I prefer to do is when the show's over, I head to my local Whataburger, because they don't have Whataburger. Well, you have in Colorado Springs down south, but for some reason, all the Whataburgers that have come to Colorado have like gravitated to Colorado Springs, 2 hours away from my house. And I'm thinking, the gods of Whataburger are not paying attention to the needs of humanity, because there are those of us like producer Chad and I that further north, and they're not bringing them up north in Colorado. So I'm here, and I might or might not have eaten a Whataburger at least once or twice a day, every day that I've been here.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair.
And I got to get out of here because they go breakfast till 11 at Whataburger, though. It's fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then they start again at 11 o'clock at night. So if you want a late night snack, you just rinse, repeat. I mean, it's a 24-hour operation here. You don't get this eating Whataburger just once a month.
Well, we don't want to keep you from your Whataburger.
Laura Carno, I've kept overtime today. Send us an invoice. We'll pay it. We'll pay it. I promise you we will. Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org, 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 and you can donate to that great organization and help her defend school children across America. People ask me, they say, do you miss being in Texas? You know what? There's two things every time I'm back here, and again, I've been in Colorado going on 30 years, 20 something years. Is it 28 years? I think I've been 27, 28 years I've been in Colorado. Moved to Colorado to do radio, DJing the Christian music turntables back in the day. So I spent most of my adult life in Colorado. People say, what do you miss? First of all, they know how to build roads in Colorado. Where I've been gravitating from, I'm up by the Interstate 30 area. If you know Highway 161, 360 to Six Flags, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium area, I'm right in that area. And a lot of the places I've been going are down south by another interstate, Interstate 20. And I don't even have to take the interstate to get there. I can be there just as quick on just north-south corridors that are 3-4 lanes. I mean, they know how to build roads here. The other thing I do appreciate about the glorious Lone Star State is the Whataburger. Yes, I do. I also appreciate there's just so many restaurants. I mean, I could spend on one street and just pick one restaurant a day, and probably 5-mile span, spend 3 months, just one a day. And it's amazing. There's also churches everywhere. If you haven't been to Texas in a while, there's churches everywhere. You go one corner or the other, you got the West Baptist Church, the Southwest Baptist Church, you got the Church of God, and you got church literally on every corner. Yes, can we please get a Whataburger in Northern Colorado where producer Chad and I, please, Whataburger gods, we set that up to you as an offering. I probably blasphemed just then. I didn't mean to. Other thing that I really appreciate, though, you ready for this? Tex-Mex. I'm trying all the Tex-Mex because we don't get a lot of Tex-Mex, and I like Tex-Mex. A lot of folks don't like Tex-Mex. I grew up on Tex-Mex. That's what I like, and that'll probably be my lunch today is Tex-Mex. Right after I have the Whataburger for breakfast, which is coming up here in just a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, Ascendant Real Estate. Sherry Cree. Just go to homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. She's a great sponsor of this program, and I just want to remind you that this is the time of year to start thinking about selling. If you've been thinking about selling, some of you thinking about buying. Listen, if you've been thinking about buying, inventory is really low right now. It's low because it happens every year this time, and so if you want to have hawk eyes on this thing and look at this thing and try to find the right house for you, just tell Sherry Cree, have a consultation, say, here's what we're looking for, here's our time frame, and she will start putting together options for you, finding the inventory that you need. Listen, you can also, my friends, if you're thinking of buying or selling a house, Sherry says this is a great time to do it because inventory is low. So there's a lot of buyers just waiting for your house to pop onto the market. Now you say, I'm not ready to list right now, but I'll get ready. Talk to Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Have a conversation about how to get your home ready. What do you need to be doing? Do you have to wait till the grass is green? Do you have to plant new flowers? She'll walk you through all the things that will make your house sell for top dollar. But here's the other key. She's not interested in just selling your home. She's not interested in just listing your home or helping you buy. She wants to be your realtor for life. So everything that she does is going to be built towards and walking towards her being your realtor for life. She believes that if she walks with you and you make the right decisions and she'll try to advise you, you can use real estate to build generational wealth that you say, yeah, that's what other people know. You're going to have generational wealth by making smart decisions in real estate. She practices ninja sales techniques. Look them up. You'll see what they are, and that's how she approaches real estate. She has just a slightly different approach, her top-notch white glove service as a realtor, and she's a great friend of mine, and she's been to Africa seeing our charity work, and as a matter of fact, they love charity work. She donates a portion of her commissions, and she'll direct it to a nonprofit church organization of your choice. You can direct it, and she'll give it on your behalf. And she will also, my friends, take a less commission rate if you're a veteran, a first responder in the military. She says, hey, she's going to cut her commissions back because she wants it to make it more affordable for you. Homeswithsherry.com. Support those who support the program. Homeswithsherry.com. 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 And make sure you tell her that Jaime Lagos is talking about her on the program. Homeswithsherry.com. Reach out to her. And again, maybe you're not ready to sell or buy right today, but she can help you put the strategy and get the ball rolling in the right way. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, let me do this. This producer chat, let's see if we can play just a snippet of the interview. If you're a subscriber on Patreon, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. This interview dropped last night. It's behind the paywall, but here is a little snippet of the Rabbi Daniel talking about a new book outlining the teachings of Viktor Frankl, who's a Holocaust survivor, and it's about the mental health crisis in America and how modern day liberalism is making us less healthy mentally and making us weaker. This is a snippet. It dropped behind the paywall last night. I think you'll find it interesting. Producer Chad, see if you can play that. I couldn't play video earlier.
Years ago, now studies are showing that people with values and meaning tend to live longer.
Talk about some of the stories. You say you've been sharing this and practicing walking this out with some of your clients. What type of, I guess, transformations have you experienced? And are there any stories of people that weren't successful in this, and why not?
Talk about the successes. In my book, I talk about 5 or 6 people that have been through tragedy in their lives. One of them is Viktor Frankl's student, Jerry Long. You can watch him on YouTube and read about him as well. He broke his neck. He was a sportsman. He's going to be a famous sports player, and he broke his neck in a diving accident. And he was laying in bed. He talks about this, and he said, I had to make a choice. Would I fall apart into depression? He became a quadriplegic. He couldn't move after that. Instead, he decided that he was going to go back to school, give up his sports, of course, become a psychotherapist, and he spent his life specializing in helping people with disabilities. And in one of his lectures, he said, I broke my neck, but it did not break me. So I talk a lot about him in the book. He was he met Viktor Frankl afterwards. He said that he experienced in his hospital bed, he didn't know about Viktor Frankl at that point, but afterwards he found Frankl. He says he experienced in his hospital bed what Frankl was realizing as well in Auschwitz, that when you face inescapable suffering and you cannot change your circumstance, you therefore have to change yourself. You have to change your attitude. I bring many other examples. I have a Christian woman from Western Canada, who also broke her neck. She was one of my students, and she was in terrible pain. In fact, this was 10 years ago, and her neck is still broken. But as she was lying in bed for many months with this halo around her, she had to decide what was the purpose of her life. And she made it a conscious decision that she was going to teach her children to have a positive attitude in spite of her pain. She was going to teach others, and that kept her alive.
You get the idea. That's the rabbi that was on the program yesterday. But that's a deep dive interview. I think you will enjoy it. He goes back to a Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book about the purpose of life, and he goes back and kind of re-emphasizes that. And I think you'll find it very inspirational. But you'll also kind of get pissed off listening to it, going, "Wow, we have taught psychiatry and therapy has been all about us, and yet the Bible." Viktor Frankl, other places say it's really not all about us. It's, John F. Kennedy put it this way: ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And unfortunately, in the last, let's say, generation, we have become very internal focused. We've got to have self-care. We've got to have self-days. We got to focus on us. And Viktor Frankl found out that the way he survived the Holocaust and refocused his life was to not focus on, I need self-care. Not that, take some time off, have a holiday, whatever. But it was focusing outside. And I think you'll find that interview very fascinating. It's at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. It's about 35, 40 minutes of your life. But if, again, you subscribe, 7-day free trial, there's all sorts of other interviews already queued up and they're ready for you to go. Everything from COVID discussions, vaccination discussions, to JFK files. We talked about J6 prisoner Shane Jenkins was on there a couple weeks. It's patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. 7-day free trial, $9.95. This program, the daily update, is free, and that is not, but it's a great way for you to support the work that producer Chad and I are trying to give you a good product, and we can start to expand what we're doing. That's the key. We want to expand what we're doing. I like shaking my finger like that because it looks giant. Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. All right, I want to play this. I mentioned earlier, and producer Chad thinks he can make it work on his end. These illegals, they got shipped to El Salvador, and this radical judge appointed by, I guess, Obama judge, I don't know, but it seems to be the same judge that they always find in D.C. They get this one judge to rule against everything Donald Trump. This is the one judge that keeps causing problems out of D.C. Probably should investigate how it is that this judge continues to get assigned Trump cases when this person is obviously, if Trump does it, they're automatically against it. So we should probably figure out the judicial system a little bit better. But this is, I don't look at this as El Salvador treating the prisoners roughly. This is them getting a spa day. They're going to get beards trimmed. They're going to get haircuts. They're even going to get stretched. I mean, people in America pay big money for like this stretch zone. They stretch you out and they put you on a table and then chiropractic work and yoga. Listen, picture this. These are illegal criminals, monsters, being deported from America, taken in by our friends in El Salvador. And look how great they're getting a spa day. They're getting trimmed. They're getting stretched. They're getting yoga. And they have yoga instructors one-on-one. Watch this. See how great it is? It's still not working. All right, we're going to give up on that one for the day. We'll give up on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, let's play meme roulette. Let's wrap the show up. Meme roulette. Usually I have a cheap globe here, but I don't have one because I'm traveling. Someone had a great idea. Doug Giles should send roving artwork with me to line the hallways while I travel and do the show from exterior places outside of the House of Lakey studio. Good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, I usually have a cheap globe, but here's what we do. We steal a couple of memes off the internet. We don't have a lot of memes for you today, but here we go. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We're cheap and shameless. Here we go. I'm sorry, this is funny. This is funny. Look at Rosie. The ghost of St. Patrick returns to drive Rosie O'Donnell out of Ireland. You know why? Because she ate all their potatoes. She ate all their potatoes, and now they're like, get the heck out of here. That happened yesterday. That's the most exercise Rosie's probably gotten in a while. I like that. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Roll it. For immediate release, my fellow Americans, I signed all my executive orders with full knowledge of what I was doing. I never used an auto pen. Signed by my own hand, Joe Biden. There's a shadow. What is that? That's not an Arial font. I don't know what that is. Joseph Rubalone Robinette Biden. There he is. His own signature. Babylon B. Thank you. That's funny stuff. All right, round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Disney waiting for the war to end so they can make a movie about a black Ukrainian man falling in love with a transgender Russian soldier. Is that Disney or is that the Hallmark Channel? It could be. Does Disney own Hallmark? Because that would be a black Ukrainian man falling in love with a transgender Russian soldier. At which point did he realize the Russian soldier was transmitted? How long that took. Now I have one more. Roll the meme wheel, round around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one know. Oh, look, it's Taylor Swift. I've been vegan for 6 months and I've never felt better. That's a great quote by Taylor. Taylor looks fantastic, right? Notice who's that from. That's Doug Giles. DougGiles.org. 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 Just look at that. Just look at that. If you weren't staring, you might think that was Taylor Swift. I've been vegan for 6 months. And I've never, ever, ever felt better. That's funny stuff right there. I think that's all of the memes we have for the day. And with that, let's make double share. Round around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Yes, my friends, we are out of memes for the day. Hey, don't forget all of our great sponsors. Sherry Cree, thank you so much. Our good friend Corey Clinton, 1 Hour Heat and Air. .com/Jimmy Lakey, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. And let's see who. Lehman Lewis Financial Group. Don't forget our friends at Lehman Lewis Financial Group, Joshua Lewis, Alicia Lewis, and the whole crew there. LehmanLewis.com, LehmanLewis.com. Always love to have you sponsoring the program. We've got a new sponsor coming on here real soon with a new commercial. You'll see a little video commercial coming up here real soon in the coming days. And yesterday had about a couple of people reach out for media packs. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, we can give you numbers on the show. We can get you all the stats you want to be a sponsor. And again, you can treat it as an advertising investment, which many people do. And I hope you get the ROI on it. We believe we will help you do that. But also, my friends, I want you to also contemplate and consider that, instead of giving to those NPRs and PBSs, donate here. You can donate to us as well. No, we want to help you get business. We're not looking for charity handouts, but we do want to help you get business and grow your organization. So if we can help you, let us know. info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. And we'll send you the advertising kit and the press kit and some revised numbers coming up here as soon as I can get back and have a little bit of downtime to put the new numbers together on our listening numbers. And so far, it looks like we keep going up and up and up and up and up. And again, what's always fascinating is to watch what this show does live and then 48 hours to see how many more views it picks up. And a lot of folks watch this in the afternoon. You're watching it live in the morning. If you're watching it live in the morning, you are. And some of you have now joined us in the afternoon watching the replay. We welcome you. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste. That's not dirty, is it? I can say that. I didn't want us cursing like in some weird language. Namaste. It's evidently safe to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. I'm in Dallas. I'm here another few days. I'll be here. The joy, isn't it? Don't forget, riverspromise.org is my charity. Donate. It's a tough season in charity world. If you want to donate, you can. Feed a kid 2 meals a day for 30 days, $30. Send the kid to school and feed him for $65 for 1 month. You get the idea? riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. You just hit payday. If you haven't donated something, we'd love to have you, riverspromise.org. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.